All right, what's up, YouTube? So this is gonna be my Ana guide. And first, a disclaimer: I know that there's a lot of different ways of playing Ana, so this is just my way of playing her and how I feel you should play her. I have played her for about 2 years now. Ever since she came out in Tekken 7, and in my opinion, I've been performing decently on her. Uh, so I think that she's mostly an aggressive character. She is super strong at pressuring, and she has some of the best mix-ups in the game. Um, so you usually want to take that to your advantage, right? Uh, she usually loses if she falls back on a safer playstyle, and I'll go into detail about that later. Uh, but yeah, hyper aggressive, in your face kind of character. Really strong for tournaments, where she can kind of just roll the dice sometimes, which is really nice for the Ana player, that is. But yeah, if we go, I made a list of pros and cons for her. At least pros and cons in my opinion, and some of them are actually also facts. So yeah, first of all, her combo damage is extremely high. So from this BNB right here, for example, a generic down for 2, she does 70 damage, uh, which is a lot in Season 4. And not only that, her Hell Sweep also does 69 damage from this BNB right here, which is, a shit ton for a Hell Sweep. So she is a very explosive character, and essentially you can't really ever count her out. And this also increases with rage, since her rage drive just increases her combo damage. You know. Um, Sorry for dropping the combo. So now she got 91 damage instead. So it's essentially like Asuka's Rage Drive, where she slams the opponent to the ground and she gets a free booty. Um, so yeah, other than that, her mix-ups are absolutely one of the best. It's not that it's not the same as Kazuya, where she gets a lot of opportunities to mix the opponent up, but uh, her mix-up hurts so much. So it is one of those cases where the low and the mid almost deals the same amount of damage. It's usually so that the low deals like about 35 damage or 40, like depending on the character. But Ana's does 70 and then 70, which is pretty nuts when you think about it. And also the range of the mix-up. She can mix you up all the way from over here, which is absolutely insane. Just note that the Hell Sweep has a little bit longer range than the Wild Standing 2, so. But her mix-ups are really strong. She can also do mix-ups from her stance. So she can do the low, or she can do like a hop kick, or whatever you kind of feel like. So yeah. This is all combined with her having extremely, strong pressure. So she has this move, quarter circle forward 1, which is going to be kind of your main tool of approaching and space control. And it's a counter hit launcher as well. So it's plus on block, 13 frame animation. So you can kind of set up your Magic 4 and stuff. And the situation is very advantageous for Ana, even if her hitbox is kind of trash. So yeah, other than that, all of her lows are usually plus frames in some way. So down forward 4, for example, is plus 5. Her down 4 leads into a situation or she can go into side steps. She has a lot of options from her down 4, which is also one of her main strengths in my opinion. Having a strong down 4 is really, really good. She has a ton of options from her generic down 4, so she also has, forward 4-2, which is like plus 7 on block, size up 3, also plus on block. A lot of, plus on block moves and a lot of moves to kind of keep going. Essentially, you have to press a lot when you play her. Also, finally, I think that her counter hits are actually very strong. So first of all, she has a generic Magic 4 into a very easy combo. I mean, you can do this combo if you want to, but you can do some easy stuff as well. Something like this, right? Other than that, this one is also a counter hit launcher for big damage. So you can use it as a keep out tool as well if you want to. And she has this string, which you can also use for counter hit fishing. Counter hit confirmable as well. So very good, very good. In terms of cons, her punishment is really lacking. So she has this for 10 frame, which has not the best range, but it's actually a pretty decent punishment in terms of the mix-up it gives afterwards in the situation. But since the range is very bad, sometimes you just have to do this, which is only 17 damage. And the point is that you can only do this until 14. At 14 you get this, which is like 53 or like 55 if you do this. Which is a very chunky 14 frame punish, and for 15 she has down for 2, which those were 2 buffs she got recently. But for 12 frames she basically has nothing. She has nothing for 13 frames. She has down for 1, 2, but that is worse than back to 2 or 3 back. And same for her while standing punishment. She has while standing 3 until 18 frames essentially. You can do while standing 1, 2, but the situation is much worse. Even though it's 3 more points of damage, the situation is not really worth it in my opinion. You want the +8 and the mix-up afterwards. But yeah, usually Ana players, what they do is that when they block a low, they do a hell sweep as a punish kind of thing. You can do that, but if people catch on to that, it's not really good anymore, I guess. Other than that, she has really risky lows. For example, this low, which is her main pressure low, is -15. So against characters that is not Ana, they can usually launch you for this. And this move, if you do anything but just do the move, it is also launch punishable. And basically all of her lows that is not sized up 2 are super punishable. So that's a big weakness to her, is that she has to commit to a risky low to get pokes in and stuff. Other than that, her hitboxes and tracking are pretty bad. So her down foot ones in this game usually track to one side, right? But Ana's doesn't really track at all. And same with her jabs. Her jabs have almost no tracking. So just be careful that pressing down foot 1, 2 on this character is not always safe. It has very bad tracking. But it recently got a range buff, which is nice. So that's also why she kind of struggles against characters with good backdashes, Characters that can backdash her and get out of her pressure by just moving backwards is that's a rough matchup for her. And all of those things combined makes it so that you kind of had to rely on this risky kind of gambling playstyle. Because if you fall back on a safer playstyle, you're going to be losing because of, bad hitboxes and unsafe pokes and unsafe lows, so you kind of have to, keep the pressure up until your opponent respects you. And once they respect you, you can start doing your 50-50s. I think that's key to this character. So, when it comes to key moves, I already talked about quarter circle forward 1, but this move, you should be using this for pressure, for keep out, for counter hit fishing. Just always be thinking of, alright, when can I do another one of these, This is such a prime move for her. I think it's almost her signature move along with her hell sweep, or hand sweep, what you want to call it, which is the next move I want to talk about. Her hell sweep. This is a full launcher. It has gotten a lot of buffs over the last patches, right? It used to mostly just give this in most situations, but now it always gives the full combo. Pretty much always. one thing to keep in mind when doing this move is that this one is, you know, the move list in the move list, but you don't want to be doing this. You want to be doing full cross downfall 2 at tilde 1, because then it gets more damage, extra range, you know, it sparks and hit. You know, this one doesn't spark, as you can see. This one does spark, and she kind of screams as well. So you might want to be doing that. And this you want to be mixing up with While Standing too, which has, you know, great range, and yeah, that's your main mix-up, essentially. So next up, her down forward 1. Even though I said it has a bad hitbox, you still want to be using it. So you mostly just don't want to be using down forward 1 by itself. If you used it, this is for just basic checking, you know, because on block, only one of them is -1. And, you know, doing down forward 1, 2 is -3. So, you know, if you want to be moving, you can do a single down forward 1. But keep in mind that this jails, you know. So essentially, a down forward 1 that deals double damage. So usually you just want to be doing down forward 1, 2 for poking stuff. Keep in mind, though, that down forward 1, 2 is only +2 on hit. So doing down forward 1, 2 into down forward 1, 2 does not beat jabs, unfortunately. Same for her While Standing 1, 2. You want to be using this move as well. This is almost identical to down forward 1. The only difference is the first one. A single While Standing 2 by itself is +7 instead of +5. And then it's -3 instead of -1. So yeah. Both of these strings have extensions in high and mids that both wall splat. But you mostly just want to be using them at the wall because they only wall splat. They don't give anything on counter hit, right? Even though down forward 1, 2, 3 back, you can cancel the mid by doing down forward 1, 2, 3 back, which you can kind of use to make some weird mind games. I use it sometimes at the wall because I think it's you know, it causes a lot of hesitation and a lot of panicking, so it can work out for you. It can work out for you. So I already mentioned her down 4, but I just want to talk about the options she has from down 4. So like Nina, she can do down 4 1, which is you know, a low high string, really good for ending rounds, by the way. And it's 0 on block. If the high counter hits, you get a 2-3 back for free, as you know, it's just guaranteed. But usually what you want to be doing is canceling to stance and you know, do a mix-up. I want to go through the stance mix-ups later, but just know that you can do it. Otherwise you can do you know, going to sidestep stuff if you want to, you know, it's all about you know, varying your offense essentially. And you know, you have a lot of options with this character and a lot of options from her down 4, and it's you know, it's really a good idea to use all of them to make sure that the opponent can't keep up. So next up, I want to talk about her down forward 4. Even though this is -15 on block, which is, it hurts when it gets blocked against you know, characters that have 15 frame while standing launches. This is still a poke that you have to use. It's +5 on hit, and what happens if you know, you do 2 in a row is that it'll beat dick jabs because it pushes the opponent slightly to the side like that. So dick jabs will whiff. So essentially it always loops into each other, right? So this is uninterruptible. They have to block the second one. So, but +5 means that, you know, you can frame trap with this, or you can do forward 3 if you want to. You can do down forward 2. You can do whatever you want, pretty much. Usually, people are gonna respect this. So yeah. Also, it has pretty good range. So yeah. Next up, I wanted to, even though her jabs has very bad hitboxes, I think they're still worth mentioning. Mostly because she has really good extensions. So now in season 4 she has 1, 2, 4, which is now a counter hit launcher. This means that, you know, you can start your offense with a 1 jab, a 1, 2, or a 2-jab as well, actually. Because a 2-jab also has this feature, you know? And if people don't know about it, you can do this move, which is +7 on block. You know, so you can kind of keep the pressure up. Her 1-2 string, very good. You can also do lows. So for example, 1-2-3, it's a low, or you know, 1-2-1 down 4, which is also a low. So you have a lot of options. And remember that every time you're put into crouch, you can do a mix-up essentially, you know. You know, or you can do a power crush. She has a power crush from crouch as well. So yeah, flowcharts. Next up, I want to talk about 4-4-3, which is like, this is not like a hop kick. This is more like a, you know, you're checking if people are ducking kind of thing. The weird thing about 4-4-3 is that it's really hard to block punish for some reason. I'm gonna have a glass of water. So yeah, it's really hard to block punish. And it's really hard to whiff punish as well for some reason. It just recovers very fast. So yeah, it gives a full launcher as well. It has pretty good range, and you can extend it a lot by holding forward. So it's like, you know, you can extend it quite a bit. If you're kind of unsure whether, you know, you're gonna hit it or not, or if the opponent's gonna block it, you know, you just want to be safer, you know, you can do a 4-4-3 back, which puts you in CGM, but it gives like a slightly bad, you know, worse combo. So yeah. So instead of a full combo, it just gives 46 damage instead. I think this one deals about 65. So yeah, this is good for checking people in on, you know, with punishment and stuff. So yeah. So moving on to situational moves. First of all, her Magic 4. It is quite okay, but you'll usually be using this either after quarter circle fall 1. After a 1-jab, or as a defensive tool, you know. So if people are trying to establish their offense, you can, you know, interrupt it with the Magic 4. But be careful, because it has pretty poor range, and it has no tracking at all. So I mean, if this whiffs, you're usually dead. So yeah. Next up is back 4, and I just want to, you know, start up by saying there is like the specific class of mid homing moves in this game, and Anna's is probably one of the worst in that mid homing move class, you know, because it doesn't give a tailspin, so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't wall splat, and it only does 17 damage, and it's quite slow at 17 frames as well. Also, it's -9, so even though she has such a hard time with tracking, I wouldn't really be using this move. I would mostly be using, you know, this one to track to her right, and this one to track to her left, you know. So instead you choose like a better move to track to the appropriate side, essentially, is what I would do, you know. But sometimes you can't get a read on which way the opponent wants to step, and then you want to do it back 4. So yeah. So next up, her down for 2. Sometimes you just want a quick launcher, you know, a quick mid launcher. If you don't have time to do 4-4-3, usually I just do 4-4-3. But sometimes you just want the fastest possible, and then you do down 4-2. The problem is that it doesn't have the best range, you know, compared to 4-4-3 has a really good range. But that is like the downside of her down 4-2, I think. Next up is her power crush from crouch. This is really good for getting out of, you know, situations where you're in forced crouch, but in a negative situation. So you can use that to kind of, you know, beat flowcharts, essentially. The problem with the move is that it's -14. So a lot of characters in this game has really chunky I-14 while standing punishers. So I would be using it sparingly, and be careful against characters like Jin and Raven and people who can launch punish it, you know. The reason I don't think it's that good is because if you want to be mixing people up, you want to be doing While Standing 2 anyway, because it's a full launcher and it's safer as well. So next up is Full Charge Forward 1. This is at the wall. This is a wall bounce, safe as well. So you can use this as the wall in substitution of While Standing 2. Because it's safe and it gives a wall bounce instead. So what's not to like? The only bad thing is that it's a little bit slower at 22 frames instead of 18. It matters sometimes. And it feels like sometimes it hits a little bit less. It has a harder time hitting. But it has really bad tracking as well. So be careful with that. Next up is Quarter Circle Forward 4. I just want to say first that Quarter Circle Forward for Ana is a stance, kind of like Paul's and Nina's, Brian's, etc. And Quarter Circle Forward 4 is this move. So it has really good tracking, so you can use it as a pseudo homing move, and it's much better than this anyway. It's minus 12 on block though, but the pushback makes it so a lot of characters has a hard time punishing it. Look at the pushback right there. So. And she recovers in crouch as well, so you can't punish this with highs. It's only plus 6 on hit though, so her full crouch mix-up is not a frame trap. So just keep that in mind. That people can mash out of this frame trap, and they can actually step the frame trap as well. So be careful, be careful. It does wall splat though. Which is okay, and she does crush quite a bit. So next up is Quarter Circle Forward 2-1. This is like one of those moves that is really hard to use in my opinion, because it has a high skill ceiling. So the first hit is a counter hit launcher and minus 12 on block. And the entire string is hit confirmable. You can delay it a lot and you can hit confirm it. And you can cancel it, So there is a lot of, variation to the string, and a lot of stuff that the opponent has to, remember when dealing with this string. I personally don't use it much, but I can see like how good this move could be if you're really good at using it. So yeah. Also, keep in mind that it wall splats from like a mile away, so that's also a thing. Now, next up, I really didn't... Oh, yeah, sorry. The last hit here is minus 14, by the way. So be careful finishing this against certain characters. And there's a lot of 14 frame launches in this game as well. Feels bad, man. Anyway, next up, I almost didn't want to include this move, but her Mudslide. Her Snake Edge is actually one of the better Snake Edges. It is really hard to see for some reason. So that's why it's hitting quite a bit, and once you have gotten your opponent freezing enough, you can sometimes get a sneaky Snake Edge. And I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's worth using sometimes. Just be very careful with it. Like when you play a set, only do it like once every 10 sets or something. Don't overuse this, please don't. And same for this move. I also almost didn't want to include this because it's also one of those seeable lows. But you can sneak one in if you're, if you cause enough hesitation and you don't overuse it. The key with these kinds of moves is that you don't overuse them. You use them seldom enough that they won't be expecting it, essentially. Just be careful that this move, it needs a clean hit to trip. Otherwise, that kind of happens. And they can duck the second hit and launch you for it. So remember to use it correctly. So next up is While Standing 3 and While Standing 4. So these are important for, sometimes you're forced in crouch at -1, -2. You want to be using this as a way of pressing yourself out. This is pretty okay for it. It is -3 on block, but the situation happens so fast that it's really hard to respond to appropriately. So you can get away with stuff like this sometimes, or like into roll stuff, or into some high crush things. You kind of have to experiment with it, but I use it sometimes. Playing Ana is all about causing hesitation in your opponent, so you can get away with some of this stuff. because if they hesitate too much, yeah, it's time to do the mix-up. You know, that's kind of your game plan. Next up is down 2. So this got a recent buff. It's +1 now. So that means that at the wall, this is pretty useful for frame trapping into 2-4. 2-4 is a counter hit combo that wall splats. Like that. So, you know, pretty okay flowchart, in my opinion. But be careful, of course, this is high, and they can duck the second hit when using it. Last, I want to talk about sidestep 3. In Oki, this is absolutely amazing. You know, it hits grounded. It does flip over Oki if it hits spring kicks. Just be careful that it's quite slow at 21 frames, and with the sidestep animation, it'll be like 28 frames around that area, right? So you're gonna get hit by get up 3s quite a bit if you use this too much. So be careful. But it is plus on block, and it does hit grounded, so it's pretty nice for Oki. I like using it for Oki. Yeah. So yeah, it means that, you know, unblocked, this is a frame trap, for example. So next, I want to talk about her strings. And first, I want to talk about one of her most notorious strings, I guess, which is this string. So the thing with this, what the fuck? The thing with this string is that it's guaranteed in the back and gives a throw like this for 101 damage. So that is the main purpose of that string. But you can also use it at the wall, because if the last hit connects like this, you can get you're plus 14, so you can get like a wall splat like that. Also, they forgot to change it in season 4. So it's actually still plus 15, so you get a down 4 too. So yeah. The thing about this string also is that you can delay every hit. So it causes a lot of hesitation, and it can be really awkward to duck punish as well. If the last kick counter hits, this slap is guaranteed. And you get your wall splat. So a really, you know, tricky string to deal with. Quite, you know, it's quite what do you call that shit? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Next up, I want to talk about this string. So this is a counter hit confirmable string. You can delay the second hit quite a bit, and kind of, you know, see if it hit like a move or something, and then you can confirm. Just be careful that the second hit is actually minus 16, and the last hit can be stepped to the right. So it is inherently an unsafe string, but it's kind of hard to deal with because she has a bunch of options. Also, the second hit is also a counter hit launcher. So it is one of those strings that, once again, once you cause hesitation, this will be hard to deal with. Next up is quarter circle 4-3 and, you know, extensions. So first of all, quarter circle 4-3-2 is a natural combo. You can use this for wall splatting, even though the first kick is unsafe though. At minus 13, the slap, you know, she kind of does like a slap thing. That shit counter hit launches, so they will hesitate in terms of punishing the kick, right? You can also, you know, be tricky and do another kick into the slap, and, you know, kind of get this thing again. But during quarter circle 4-3 at the wall, to kind of find a wall splat is a pretty okay game plan, I think. Last, I mean, we should talk about these strings as well. These are both the down 3-4-1 and up 4-3, up 4-4-3-4. Both strings are very, you know, gimmicky, but, you know, you can kind of get away with them sometimes if you cause enough hesitation and enough panic in your opponent. So I mean, I use them sometimes, but I would use them very sparingly. They both have obvious weaknesses. So yeah, keep that in mind. Next up, let's talk about her CGM stance. CJM. So there is a couple of different situations where this is relevant. So first of all, it's there's after punishment situations. Here she is +8, so down by 3 and 1+2 are frame traps. This will be your main mix-up. If you're sure that they're gonna, if you want to be a little more risky in your game plan, you can use the hop kick instead. But I usually just go with the 1+2 to keep it safe, or you know, the low. So yeah. Otherwise, you can go down forward and to go into snake dash, and you know you can do the chain throws, or you can do the shoulder. You can do kind of like this if you're at the wall. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. But the point is that after punishment, you basically have all the space you want. So yeah. Now it gets a little bit more tricky after down 4-1 back and after 4-3 for 3 back, because here she is +1, and after 4-4-3 for 3 for 3 back. Sorry, I'm messing up the inputs. Here she's -1, and here she struggles a lot with dealing with dick jabs. So either she stays in stance to parry the dick jab, or she does a hop kick. But once you have, you know, are sure that they're not gonna dick jab, you know, you can frame trap with this, or you know, do stuff like this, or you know, do this if they're gonna do a down foot 1. And once they respect you, you can do the lows again and do the mix-ups. It's all about making them respect you, and it's all about, you know, the opponent not keeping up with what you're doing. This one is -1, however, instead of +1. So what is happening is that jabs will beat your stuff, but you have an option of rolling like this, which will go under jabs, and then you can do, you know, this is for you can do 4-4-3 for example, to beat the jabs, or you can do 4-4 into you know, full crouch mix-ups if you want to. So yeah, it's really up to you. You can also do this after, you know, sometimes I do this as well, just to be cheeky and stuff, you know. So the next 2 situations are dependent on 9 games. So down foot 1, 2, 3 back. I talked about this earlier, but this is essentially a mind game. So if the opponent has a read on you during the cancel, they can just launch you for it. And same for this one. They can launch you for this as well. So you expect them to hesitate. What I usually like to do is I would like to do CGM 1, because people try to react to the cancel, but it's not really possible in my opinion. I haven't found anyone who can react to the cancel. So yeah, this will be people who try to react. Once you respect it, you can once again go for the low, or you know, go for the mid. Kind of do whatever you want. Now, last, you can do the stance just like this. Okay. So this will beat, you know, it will low parry. You know, lows essentially. She will hop kick you, and if you throw her, she will reverse the throws. So you know, you can kind of have a nice read on people. You can also, like, you know, just roll into a mix-up or something if you want to, or you roll into this kick, or you know, just do the mix-up like this. It's kind of up to you, or you know, just do it and see if they respond with a button. You can really, you know, customize your offense how you want, and that's kind of why she's really fun to play in my opinion. You know, you usually have a lot of room because she has so many plus frames everywhere. So yeah, I think that was essentially my Ana neutral guide. I'm not gonna go into detail with combos in Aoki because I could do that in a separate video maybe, but I think this is essentially how to play her in the neutral, in my opinion at least. She has a very simple game plan. and it's all about being aggressive and stuff. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any questions regarding Anna or me, you can follow me on my Twitch channel. I'll probably link it in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a good night.